on the last day of Indie Arena booth. Here we are. I'm Olivia, one of the developers of To The Rescue. Tanner's here too.
Hi.
And we are super tired but super excited for this last stream. Sorry, you can probably hear Keanu clacking around because of our microphone settings, so you can hear both of us. But yeah, so for this stream, we are going to be doing a Q&A. I mean, it's going to be pretty low-key and casual, because in addition to being a Q&A, we are going to be playing some of the really old builds of the game, which is something that I'm really excited because people were asking about it. And so yeah, because we've saved builds of the game from like years ago.
Pretty close to the very first one.
Yeah, because we've been we've been working on this game on and off for years, and which you mentioned before. But we've recently, pivoted to working on it full time and making it a lot more polished instead of just being like a hobbyist project. But at any point, feel free to interrupt us. We're really just doing this, going through the older builds to sort of give you guys some visual and to just let y'all see it because it seemed interesting. But feel free to interrupt us at any moment with questions because this is a mostly Q&A stream. I guess I should probably go in and change the actual stream information, huh? So yeah, in the meantime, we have been playing lots of different other demos, which has been great to actually be able to spend some time to do that. I'm struggling to find the thing here. So yeah, Tanner, what are some of the other demos that you've been playing?
Yeah, so last night I played a demo called Susarian, and I am really excited for that one. It's kind of like a political sim game of
And who would have guessed we're sim game players?
Right, yeah. It reminds me a lot of 80 Days, but with more of a sort of like what's a good comparison? 80 Days mixed with something sort of like Civ is what it feels like, but you're not doing the sort of like specific unit interactions. It's mostly narrative driven. So I haven't played a game like that before.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like really narrative, because I mean,
The music needs to come down, Olivia.
Oh, the music needs to come down. You got it. Thank you for letting us know that. Especially because I think some of our older builds are questionable in terms of what audio we're using, so we should probably keep the audio pretty chill.
Yeah.
And we should probably talk a little louder too. But yeah, narrative-driven sim games are sort of few and far between, and like I was saying, even though we're planning to have quite a bit of narrative in the game, having that be the focus is really cool.
Yeah. Another one I played was I can't remember the name, but it's a Mars colonization sim.
Per Astra, I think it was.
Per Aspera, yeah.
Per Astra. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was a pretty short demo, similarly early to ours, I think, but both of those really got me hooked for when they come out. So pretty excited about that.
Very cool, very cool. Okay, so I guess for now, since I think I got stuff straightened out in terms of the title and stuff, I guess you can go ahead and get started. I'm going to very briefly touch on this demo a little bit. If you're watching this, you've probably already seen this demo, but it's good to provide some context for sort of the previous builds, which is, sort of a highlight. But again, you can ask us questions about this demo, about our sort of history on this game, about, our current planned features, about Indie Arena booth, about just us. We're totally here to answer any and all questions. Or if you just want to chat, because we are also, playing games during this event and hanging out too, so all of that sort of stuff is good. And if not, I'm just going to keep playing demos of old demos of
Yes.
our game. If you haven't played our demo before, don't do what I just did and turn off the tutorial, because if you turn off the tutorial, it immediately sort of pivots to the obscenely hard difficulty that this demo has. What am I doing? I'm going to Leechton.
We have a question about how big the team is. For the longest time, it was just Olivia and myself. So a lot of what you're going to see today is that.
And that's why it looks terrible, because we are not artists. So
Yeah.
we either rip stuff from stuff we found online or for like our early prototypes, or
Yeah.
tried our best.
But slowly over time, we added some people. So the first person we brought on was Byron, our art director. And then Joe came on the project to add some audio. And then our most recent additions to the team are our community manager Belle and our animator Kat. And
Who are
so,
both awesome. And oops, I did not mean to build that there. Trying out different layouts.
so yeah, so right now team's about 6 people. But like I said, when it started out, it was just me and Olivia. So.
Look at these little dudes.
All right.
That's good, because I spent way too much money on building stuff early on. So yeah, this build has like so many more features than we were even initially planning to include in the game. Like, we had sort of a very, I don't know, it's weird. I almost said we had a limited scope at the beginning, but that's not true. Because just, it's really easy in game development to have giant ideas that are really hard to realize. But stuff like the skill system and the dog behavior that we're working in is all like totally new stuff.
Yeah, and I think one of the really big things to emphasize, other than like obviously the visuals, which you're gonna see an enormous progression in that regard.
Oh, you guys are gonna roast us about it, and you rightfully should. It looks so bad, and and it's funny because at the time I was really proud of it and thought the game looked awesome and really cool and was a great prototype. But then now I'm like,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that speaks a lot to how much we've learned and how far we came.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
In game development.
I mean,
that
because
time.
we were still an undergrad when we started, and we had never really made a game before, especially not a sim game. Like, and sim games are there's so many interlocking systems involved that it's easy to underestimate how difficult it is to implement even like really simple stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and you know, I think sort of looping back to the talk I did yesterday, one of the things that you're gonna see is that the mechanics have changed a lot since then, mainly the control scheme. So
Yeah, that's one of our biggest changes, and it's interesting because yeah, I guess it was yesterday. Was it yesterday I was on the stream with Dozer, or the day before? I don't remember.
I think it's yesterday.
Okay, all the days are the Corona days are all the same.
Yes.
But what was I gonna say? Okay, so he had actually played the game in our very early focus test we did, and he was completely like, "What? The controls are different?" Because it's totally different. But he at least thought that they were a lot better. So I like to think that they're better. So what am I doing? I keep talking and forgetting what I'm doing. I'm going here. Of course. Just my luck. Okay.
Alright, you think we're gonna...
Oh yeah, I got distracted playing the game. We should actually, if we're going to show all of our builds, we should probably move. So, so I guess we are going to actually start at our oldest build that we found. So this build is like, I don't know if it's the very first build we ever did, because we had some really janky ones that we brought and showed to like local game design groups and stuff. But this isn't probably far off from those.
Yeah, I think this first one is definitely within the first 6 months of us starting to build the game. So sometime in early 2017.
Yeah. Okay, Diesel, before I go,
Set them free.
be free. Be free, Diesel.
Goodbye, Diesel.
Diesel? Okay. Cool. I like setting them outside because they'll actually run sometimes. You don't get to see their run animations inside. Anyway, he's free now. Alright, so I'm going to move to the other build, and it should just black out for a second while I'm transitioning. But, okay, cool. It's doing the thing I thought it would. So, this build is titled Dog Rescue. We didn't have a title yet. Dog Rescue 0.0.1 demo. And I think Tanner just renamed it to that. I don't know. I don't think we had that good of a name. We did. We did.
Yeah, that was what it was at the time.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. Well, we'll see how this works. I don't know if it's going to automatically pivot the input, but probably not. There we go. What do we have here? Is it working? Okay, there we go. Okay. So, as you can see, it's way off center. Okay, I'm gonna relaunch it because I accidentally did windowed mode. Yeah, this is
Hold shift when you double click it. Oh, okay, there we go.
I know what I'm doing.
Oh, aspect ratio.
Aspect ratio.
It needs to be 1920 by 1080.
Well, this is as big as it gets. So.
Okay. Well, that'll work.
Yeah, not window though. I literally just clicked Windows again. So, okay, so it's gonna have a little bit of resolution interestingness. So this is the oldest build of the game we could find. As you can see, it's ugly and there is no audio. And you run really fast. Man, part of me really wants to be able to run this fast again.
Gotta get the skills.
Gotta get the skills. But as you can see that we, really early on, we had a system where you had a left hand and a right hand. Oh, I don't know what's happening there.
You're getting an adoption.
But there's no dogs. So
but there's no dogs,
I don't know what's happening. So yeah, the adoptions just periodically would just randomly happen. I think this is before we even had show kennels. Yeah, we didn't even have show kennels. So the adoption would just randomly happen with all the dogs that are in the shelter. But yeah, the left-hand, right-hand thing. So that was something we actually hung on to for a really long time. And our original reason for including it...
M for events.
M for events. Okay, I'm glad you figured that out. Okay, that doesn't do anything. Are you sure it's not M for adoption?
Maybe. Try some buttons.
Try some buttons. Oh, there we go. Oh, look.
N for new dog.
Huh? N for new dog. That makes sense. Yeah, so we had these events really early on, and as you can see, we ripped these little sprites off of Google. So if you're the original artist of these sprites, I'm so sorry for disrespecting them in this way. But yeah, see, and so he's actually on an invisible leash right now. There was no actual leash, but you can still drag him around. And this was our very, very early prototype that we were just being like, can we make this game? What does it feel like? And yeah, so I can put him in there. And let's see, can I open the folder? I can! So we still had the folder and everything. So there's still lots of really interesting holdover stuff.
Yeah. We have a comment that the top-down style reminds them of Prison Architect, which is a good catch.
Yeah, that is a very good catch. So a lot of things we were doing with this first build was just trying to emulate some of our inspiration games, and that was one of them. Because we were just going to make it strictly perfectly top down, but as you probably see in one of our next builds, it didn't really translate very well into the art style that Byron really wanted to do and that we really wanted to do. How do I get the boxes?
You scroll.
Oh, so
Q&E.
Gotcha. So in this build, oh my gosh, stuff's happening. In this build, Q&E is sort of what the scroll bar is now, and you left click and right click to grab stuff. So I totally missed his food. What do you need? R&J. Okay. So let's get that one.
The old art.
Yep, and the JPEG.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, he pooped. Oh, I can't select the right camera. Oh, it's so janky, but a lot of it's still sort of similar, you know. Like it's weird to me how it still evokes.
I don't know if you'll be able to put the food down.
I can't put food down. Okay, that's awesome. But yeah, he's gonna run around and eat. Oh my god, the way they run it around is cracking me up a lot. Cause he just like rams into the walls. Oh my gosh, look at them! Oh, that's amazing. And yeah, but so our left hand, right hand thing was actually originally inspired by Hotline Miami, which was weirdly an early inspiration for our controls. Because of the way that you sort of organically move through the space, picking up and putting down and throwing stuff, we thought it would be a really interesting fit for the sort of hectic day-to-day, like throwing stuff in people's kennels movement. But it wasn't very intuitive, and actually selecting what you wanted to get was really difficult. So that's where and you'll see that we kept trying to iterate on it to make it work, but it just was not working.
Yeah, that was one of the things that got cut out in our rebuilds.
Oh my god, look at that! look at the shapes of the pie. But Baxter found a home, so that's
Baxter
cute.
did.
And so who even was Baxter? You were Baxter. So we had new dogs that showed up. We had adoptions. I don't think. Does this do anything? I can't open the folder anymore. So I think I played with this game.
You should be able to open the folder if you cycle to the dogs using.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm glad you remember all this.
I think it just gives them happiness boost.
So before we had happiness is sort of what welfare used to be, and it was still composed of cleanliness, hunger, and thirst, sort of added up to their happiness. Bye, Louie. But yeah, so playing was sort of a way to boost their happiness temporarily, which that's stayed around too. Okay, and I guess we can go ahead and move on because literally there's not much to do. Oh, I wonder if I can. Oh, there's Broom. I'm sort of having fun just.
Alright.
I'm actually surprised at how similar it is, I guess. Like, it's clearly janky, old, early prototype, right?
Yeah.
But it, does a lot of the same things. Yeah, no?
Yeah, no, a lot of the ideas have carried over. We've just been working on, making them more satisfying.
Yeah, because, this is not super fun. This is all there is to do right now. There's no goals. You just still have money, but I don't think it does anything.
Yeah, no, I don't think it does.
Yeah, so this is our earliest draft of this game that we were able to have. So yeah, I guess we can move on to the next. If there are any questions about anything, it doesn't have to be related to what we're doing right now with the old builds or anything. Just anything about the game at all, our release schedule, or just anything. You can feel free to ask. I'm just really playing these to fill in the space so that we're not just staring at our faces. Because, okay, well, I guess I'm going to move on to the next build because Tanner grabbed all these. I cannot believe he found them all, so I'm not even sure what this is going to be. Can I even close it?
No, you're going to have to.
I can't. Okay, Alt F4. Awesome. Okay. So let's grab this one.
0.0.13.
Okay, so is this going to be any different, you think?
Yeah. I grabbed different ones. Ooh. You'll have to repoint.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, this is different. Oh, this was Byron. This is like when we first got Byron on.
Yeah, so this is, we added animations. These were test animations from Byron for the first time. You can see there's a hybrid of some of his early assets and some of our old bad programmer art.
Yeah, Cash, Toffee. Aww. Oh, man. Look at him. It's like Charlie Brown.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, this is... Oh, my gosh. This is just really nostalgic for me because, like, we didn't know what we were doing, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, we're, there's a devlog, apparently. Or not a console. Oh my god, I'm walking so slow. I think we tried to match it to the animation speed instead of vice versa.
Yeah.
Okay, can we get both of you? We can.
This added the computer and show kennels.
Oh man. Oh, cat. Oh, and the dog's distraction. So, this is actually something that we're planning to add back into the game at some point. Soon. But yeah, so the dogs actually will get distracted by each other and pull on you and want to go play with each other. So there's sort of a matter of it being more difficult to hold multiple dogs because they will pull you in two different directions. Right now, they're all very well behaved in the demo.
Yes.
Luckily. Okay, yeah, so we had, I don't think any of these did anything. Yeah, so these were just our plans for what they would be. And we're just now actually implementing Barkbook with this build, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
So we've got a couple questions.
Okay, cool.
So first up, Sora's asking if the final game will have the option to rebind keys. It currently does, actually. It's sort of hidden under the controls panel, which is only visible once you load into the shelter. But you know, accessibility and customization are pretty big goals for us, so we're gonna try and make lots of accommodations like that in the final build of the game. And the second question is if there will be a point in the game where you'll be able to add extra cash volunteers to the shelter or have co-op to multitask. Well, the co-op to multitask isn't a thing that we have scoped in right now, but hiring AI helpers definitely is. So in the full version of the game, you'll be able to get some little co-workers that wander around and help you out.
Oh my god, I move so slow in this build.
And I have a tip for Sora as well. They said they couldn't run the demo properly because it only has a full window mode. So Steam should have an option if you find the actual executable of the game and you hold Shift while you double click it, it should open like graphics and resolution options, and you should be able to set it to windowed mode. So see if that you can give that a try, and it might help the demo run a little bit better.
I'm so slow.
Some heavy bags of dog food, I guess.
Yeah. The kettle's so big and I'm so slow. Oh, can I put it up this time? I can't.
Can we fix that bug at some point?
Or did we? Yes, it looks like we had a medical kennel in here and everything.
Yeah. Same basic layout as before. I think we had this layout for a while.
Yeah.
And this was before you could add, you know, custom kennels or anything like that. It was just kind of working with the space.
Ugh, water too. They're so needy. Jeez. At least you don't walk at this speed in the current demo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else to do. Really, the interesting thing about this one is that we were trying to figure out, like, a lot of this game was us learning how to do games. Because actually, we had worked with Byron on a project prior to this. That was just a student project of us just learning how to make games. It was like an independent study we did because we don't have like an actual like games program at our school. But we worked with Byron and another really great artist, Shanae, and we made a like a little not like a platformer, like an adventure game, I guess.
Kind of a Zelda-like.
Yeah, we didn't get very far with it, but it was really fun. But that was our only experience with like integrating assets and using animation and like there were so many firsts for that. And same thing for you know the artists, like making assets for game isn't the same as just making art. There's a lot more that goes into it. So so you'll see us both learning as we progress through the future builds.
So we've got a question about euthanasia.
Yeah.
Somebody said that they noticed the euthanasia in the store in the current version of the game, and asked if we ever discussed not having that element in the final game.
We definitely did, but it was actually really, really early on something we decided was very, very important for us to keep. And the reason for that is because and we've talked about before how we are, we're wanting this to raise awareness in addition to just being a fun sim. Awareness for like some of the harsher things that have to go on in shelters sometimes, especially when you're in a municipal shelter. Because sometimes shelters that have no choice but to euthanize have a really bad reputation for often getting put in a situation just based on not having funding or space. Because a lot of times, not all no-kill shelters, but a lot of them, they simply don't accept more dogs than they have room for, but those dogs do have to end up somewhere, so often, somebody doesn't have a choice. And we just wanted to create some empathy for that situation and make people sort of see what might lead you to sort of have no choice.
Yeah.
And it's not something that is like glorified in the game, or it's not like a very strong strategy even, because it's really expensive, but sometimes so is taking care of the dogs. And it can hurt your reputation, because your reputation is actually something you have to manage in the game as well. So it's not something we're including lightly, and we know that it's controversial and some people might not agree with it. But it's really important to us because, we believe that it's not necessarily evil to have to be left with no choice, right? Because they're just trying to keep the shelter open, and so that they can keep taking care of other dogs.
Well, and really that dichotomy is the sort of core, the emotional component of the game that we really wanted to explore, right? Like, you spend so much time caring for these dogs and trying to get them the best possible home that you can. But, just like in real life, that you're not going to be able to save every single dog. And sometimes that's going to be because the situation you're in, to help all the dogs overall, you have to make some tough calls like that.
Yeah. I mean, but the good news is, too, is that originally we were not going to make it optional because we really wanted to make that emotional moment what the game was about.
Yeah.
But we thought about it a lot more, and, we don't want to traumatize anybody because there's a lot of people that just don't want to be exposed to that. And I mean, that doesn't mean that they're like putting their fingers in their ears or whatever about real issues. It's just that, that's just not why they're playing games.
Yeah.
And so we're also including you can actually turn it off. You can turn it off in the demo as well. It doesn't get rid of it from the shop. That's just from a limited scope. We weren't able to. Oh, it's an adopter. Sorry, got distracted. I don't know what just happened. Oh, because they aren't. These are the show kennels. I was trying to remember what these different ones were. Okay. So you can turn it off. It is still going to probably have sort of a PSA in there that's like, hey, just so you know, real municipal shelters, like some of them don't have the choice to do this, but you can if you want, so that you have a great experience, etc. So, come on, Caster. Oh, Malanta. Okay. Well, I think maybe we can move on to the next build now, see what changed. Oh my god, those two are BFFs, I guess.
Yeah.
Look at their little derpy faces.
Right.
Is there another question?
Not so far. Not any that haven't been addressed by some other people in the comments.
Okay. Alright, well, I'm gonna go ahead and move on then. Does this one have a menu? Nope. I love that we had a menu button for that long that didn't do anything.
Yeah.
That's really top tier design.
Yeah, so somebody had a question about how many different models of dogs there will be. Right now, we have roughly 30 variants scope.
29, actually.
Well, including some of the unique
that's true.
dogs from the Kickstarter.
So including all the sort of super dog variants, I think, we're going to have more like 35.
Yeah.
And those ones are... So there's going to be 29 different breed variants that you'll see moment to moment, but there's also going to be a mechanic for quote-unquote super dogs that will show up at the shelter that will all have custom traits and custom appearances, and they're going to be special named dogs that are really, really adoptable all the time. And those are mostly going to be Easter eggs from our Kickstarter backers that paid to get their dogs in the game. So I'm actually really excited to get those and see them in the game, because I think Byron's going to do a really good job of really putting a lot of personality into them.
Absolutely.
Because Cooper is essentially going to be a super dog in the game. He's based on Byron's old dog, so that's sort of the level of sort of specialness they're probably going to have.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You need to.
Oh,
okay.
I gotta change the input. I keep forgetting that I have to change my game capture. Okay. Are we there? Are we there? Oh, it's off center. Let me fix that.
Sora has a question about any conscious choice about the playable characters staring straight at your soul. So that's sort of a money limitation at the moment, or a production limitation. We, as we're going forward, we're going to try and have the characters' faces animating too, at least for the, different sort of emotional states in the game. So.
Oh no, she has the flu. Sorry, I have to take care of this. Oh my no.
Yeah, this one was a demo build to start with the whole shelter full.
You're right, I do remember that now. So, oh my god, look at Juju's weird tail.
And then we had another question: are the dog personality traits important to find an adopter?
They are, yeah. You can go ahead and answer, Tanner.
Yeah. So, they're important in several ways right now, and they are going to be even more important in the future. So right now, for every trait matchup that you get an additional star of adoptability. Which, linear...
Oh, look at this. Look at this awesome leash.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you.
So it increases their chances of getting adopted. But in the long term, their personality traits are going to affect how they behave with other dogs and sort of how you have to organize your kennel. So it's going to be sort of a compounding factor. So right now you can just build a big kennel and throw 4 dogs in there. But in the future we're going to have to consider, how well they might live together.
The princess was a handful. So this was one of the builds I was talking about where the dogs do behave differently when they're on leash in this build, which is definitely something we're going to bring back. Maybe not that extreme.
Yeah.
But yeah, so some dogs, they have hidden, like, it's not visible anywhere on them, but they have a hidden training value. Oh my gosh, you have the flu too. They have a hidden training value, which sort of controls how well they follow along with you when they're on leash. And of course, there are trained dogs in the game, which actually also. Did that work?
Yeah. Okay. So we've got a suggestion of Easter egg dogs, i.e., little raccoon shows up in the adoption area with traits like bitey, jumps on people, and kisses.
That's incredible. You know that I love little garbage animals like that, so like I desperately want that to happen.
Yeah.
I also low-key, if there's some other developers watching, there's a few other dog games that I'm a fan of that I would love to have little crossover Easter eggs. I would absolutely love to do something like that. So if I'm not going to shout them out in particular, but because I don't want anybody to have expectation that we're going to actually have it happen.
But yeah, some totally, absolutely these are dogs Easter eggs is something we've definitely considered.
Or like a cat in a dog costume.
Yeah. The main obstacle to that right now is that, the animations are all hand drawn. So they're pretty big time investments. So then we come down to the question of whether or not we're adding a joke or another dog variant to the game.
Yeah, that's true. Even though, if we could have one joke, maybe.
Right, exactly.
We also talked a little bit last time in one of the art streams about the potential for having little dog hats, which would be delightful. But who knows?
Another question.
Yeah.
Controller support in the final product.
Absolutely, 100%. We will have controller support.
Yeah.
At least some limited controller support. Like I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to test it for like all game pads and all right, but we're really pushing hard. And actually, in the demo build, there is limited controller support.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it covers like 100%.
You can't navigate like the UI, but if you have an Xbox One controller, I've tested it with
I
that.
prefer a dog that isn't rabies.
That isn't rabies. So you can at least run around and pick up dogs and items and drop things with the controller, but using anything that's more UI focused would be something you have to grab the mouse and keyboard for.
Is she just gonna stand there until?
I think you have to talk to her again. Yeah.
Oh, so she stands there. Okay, I thought she was just going for it.
No, I think she comes over and waits. That was kind of the old
Yeah.
pattern for it. So I think this was the first iteration of the game that we took to a convention.
I think so.
I think we took
Other
this
than
to
the really early one we had like on a laptop at GDC one time.
Yeah, but we weren't really.
No, we were just like,
presenting
I
it.
guess this is a thing. Oh look, she's Rain Bandit, I think.
It might have broken.
It might have broken.
But the idea here with this was a little bit of an evolution of that wheel of adoption that was up there earlier. Here they're going through and rating each dog individually and determining sort of how big of a slice that they get before sort of randomly picking which one they want to adopt. So this version was a lot harsher for low-rated dogs.
Yeah, it really was.
So like,
and it was because we were trying to push people towards having to make that sort of euthanasia choice, right? But we have moved away from that quite a bit since this build, anyway.
Yeah. So I think back then there was a 5% chance for all 1-star dogs and a 20% chance for all 5-star dogs.
Like, so 5 stars total if you had only, so each one was 1%, right?
Yeah. So if you had 5 1-star dogs, you only had a 5% chance for an adoption.
Total, yeah.
And if you had 5 5-star dogs, it was a 95% chance for adoption.
Both hands tears.
So
yeah.
now it's a lot less exponential in terms of the chances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of visual bugs here, but you can see we're starting to get some more dog variety.
Yeah. And this was the sort of first pass of the dog designs that Byron did, and I do really like these, but we did decide that once we sort of saw it all together, it's sort of like the UI is sort of samey. It's like too pastel, and it gets sort of lost. Some of the dogs don't have all that much personality. Some of them do. But yeah, so that's one of the reasons why we did a pass on it. As you can see here, though, some of the dog types that we will have in the final game. We're planning on having border collies and
Basset Hound?
Basset Hounds, yeah. And then bully breeds and things like that too. So
yeah,
it's pivoted to sad music. I think we're still using just like open source music at this point.
Definitely.
So it's I think it might be like almost end of day or something. If we even had an end of day at this point, I don't remember if we did.
I don't think we did. I think it was just looping through songs.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's about everything in this build, I guess, that's different and interesting. We did change the layout of the shelter. We had this one for a while, but and one interesting thing about this design too is that there were these 2 sections of kennels, right? So there's the section over here on the left that is close to the holding, the show kennels, and there's one over here on the right that is close to the holding kennel. And originally we thought that was going to be a really clever way to have people like separate the dogs into like the goods and the bads, essentially. But it just totally didn't work out that way. People just put them wherever. And also though, it was because diseases actually spread based on contact. You could contain them in like one half or the other if you were completely full like this. And we went with that design for a while, but it ended up just being way too big. Too much and once we started adding building kennels, which I don't think we've had that until our current builds. Maybe.
I
Maybe we
think
had
we
one.
had it in the version that was close to the Kickstarter.
Yeah, maybe so. But yeah, so once we added that, we realized we didn't need all this weird space. And because with all the space, and if you ever had this many dogs, like, they completely lose their one-on-one personality, right? Like, there's so many of them, like, I'm not gonna remember who wants what food, right? Like, it's absolutely difficult to remember them all. So we scaled it down, at least for the, the stage that is in the current demo. I'm trying to think if there's anything else you want to mention about this build.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was about a year into development.
And again, when we say a year in development, that's not us doing full-time work on the game. That's us still being an undergrad and working on it, like, for 3 hours every other weekend sometimes. So just to give you a frame of reference for sort of how long we've been working on it. I'm curious if the toy does a minigame yet. Nope. Okay. Oh, but the tail wag. Aww.
Yeah, so we start adding in the emotional states.
I still just love that the Chihuahuas have basset hound tails for some reason. Because actually, what we were trying to do with these animations were to, so that each and every frame of like them being happy and walking, and then being sad and walking, and then wagging tail and walking. So we didn't have to hand draw all of those. We actually were animating the tails as separate objects, which is why you see them sort of move around awkwardly on their bodies sometimes. Because we were animating them separately to sort of make, ideally, the animators work less hard, but it just looks ridiculous. It did not, we were not able to pull that off in a way that.
So that's one of the things we scrapped when we brought on Cat. So with their help, the animations are all, totally hand-drawn and looped together seamlessly, so you don't get any weird floating tails or that kind of thing.
It's crazy just how good they are at animation and artwork in general is just like black magic to me, so I'm just like, it blows my mind.
The trade-off there is that because the animations are no longer modular, that means that sort of every variant or iteration requires redrawing the whole dog for the whole animation state.
Yeah, so like if, for example, we wanted to, so we've had a little bit of people talk about, so there are some health things in the game that you might notice that are like three-legged or like scarred or like actually
Crossed
things that things that you would expect to actually change their appearance. I think I bugged out the folder. But actually making those variants is actually a lot of work. Same thing with like color variants within breeds. And that's something we've been considering because that is less work than adding in like a whole new breed, right? But it's still having to recolor every single frame of every. Oh my Lanta. That's a lot of dogs. A lot of flu-ridden dogs. And so I think in order to not have to deal with this right now, I think I'm going to move on to the next build.
Yeah, we can check out the next one. So yeah, like I think this one was around the first time we showed the game. It was a year to a year and a half probably into us working on it on and off.
Was this I don't think this was I think our first Pixel Pop build was a little further along than this.
Yeah, no, it's in here because I remember the tutorial we made for it.
Yeah.
But we're not quite there yet.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna move on and maybe it's the next one. Oh, we had a menu! This is our menu build.
We did.
Was it,
I don't think any of them do anything except for maybe instructions. Yeah.
Look.
Early version of the logo.
Yeah, I think I made that logo actually.
I think you did.
Yeah. Oh, look at all the stuff. Okay. All the people that look the same. Okay. Is there an exit? There's no exit. Okay.
No, still no exit.
Still no exit. Okay. Let's see what else we can dig up from the archives here. Oh my gosh, we're already like up on our hour. I just realized this. I've been having fun going through these demos.
Yeah. So I think this might be the last one we have.
We have two.
Oh no, you're right. We've got the
I found a new one.
from
Yeah.
the Kickstarter.
Uh-oh. we go. This is definitely one that we had at Pixel Pop.
Yeah, so you can see some more of the wonky tails.
But
some
also
more dog
more of the dog
variety.
variety. Yeah, oh my god, we were so bad at matching up the tails for some reason. I don't know.
It was a really, really buggy system.
Yeah. One of the reasons why Tanner did a talk yesterday about rebuilding the game is because we were essentially iterating upon this really janky groundwork. And so it was really hard to make progress, and it's one of the reasons why we rebuilt the game in the last 6 or so months. And that's even from this version. Yeah, we totally rebuilt all of this. So
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna do the tutorial.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is the first version that we actually took to Pixel Pop in St. Louis. And so we spent
Kloss.
we spent probably like 3 weeks trying to cobble together this tutorial, and it is a lot more segmented than the current tutorial. But that's part of the trouble with tutorials, is they take away so much dev time to sort of hand build all the logic that you're only going to use and only some number of people are actually going to play. So finding a balance with that is always tricky. But we have this little arrow pointing to everything.
It's Boogie and Bigfoot. That's super cute.
Boogie and Bigfoot.
Oh yeah, I remember this. Oh, good times. Boogie and Bigfoot. Okay.
We have a question asking, is the engine the same during these various builds? And the answer is kind of.
I guess, yeah, that's true. You can answer more to that.
Yeah, so we've always been using Unity, but you know, the first version of Unity that we're using
was what, 2015?
It was just called Unity 5, I think.
Oh, you're right, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like 5.6.
Somewhere in there, yeah. And so we've, probably used a half dozen or more versions of Unity throughout the process, sort of trying to keep it relatively up to date.
Because I could never stop Tanner from updating it.
There were good reasons. Alright. See, yeah, this is segmented out like, okay, return the food, pick up this thing, do this thing.
It's honestly, it was a pretty good tutorial for this build. It was really effective and not very buggy. And
yeah.
I want to bring the arrow back because, like, I watching a couple other people play the tutorial. I was like, no, don't skip this step. It's gonna break. But that's also because this tutorial was very quickly implemented and doesn't handle a lot of edge cases. The one that's in the demo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we spent like 3 days on that versus like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So.
Can I put it back?
You have to left click.
I am left clicking.
Okay.
Oh, what did I say about it not being buggy? And this, you can't put stuff down right now. Okay, it looks like it
Try
might be
queuing.
busted. I did.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not working. Well, we almost
You
made
just-
it.
Let's see.
Well, I can go to the main menu and just do the regular game too.
Yeah, true.
Oh yeah, and you can see that for the, I don't know if it's just for the tutorial or for this demo, but the other half, this is actually using the same shelter as before. It's just like
Covered up.
It's like literally we just like put all the stuff like over it, I think.
Yeah.
So okay, I think I'm just gonna go to the main menu and try to
Try it without the tutorial. Yeah.
Yeah. Alright. Let's do this.
Still using that same initial placeholder music.
Uh-huh.
We hadn't brought Joe in yet to make us some awesome custom tunes.
It's still using the one hand, two hand system, which it's so weird because I played it so much with this system and I got so used to it that it took me a long time to be convinced that the new controls were good because I was so used to these and I was like, this is just so intuitive. And it's not, but I was just brainwashed into thinking it was because of how much I spent doing this.
Yeah, we got some feedback. A lot of people like the idea of the arrow. Yeah, we do too.
Yeah, we do too. I really, we actually were trying to scope that into to this tutorial, but we literally just ran out of time and we had to fix bugs first. Yeah, I am glad that now that we have the food and the water and stuff in the same room, we don't have to walk all the way around. I think at one point, even with this shelter layout, we had it to where we like knocked down this middle wall and made it one big room, because going around like that is super annoying. So much walking back and forth, which the game still does have that a little bit, so...
We're definitely trying to find a good balance on that.
Yeah, because we want it to be hectic and Diner Dash-ish with all the running and matching stuff, but... I see that works there.
Yeah.
That's good. I was worried it was gonna break again. Yeah, and I also think that this pace is much more relaxing.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's been a big challenge. So I know a lot of people had issues with the game being too hard.
I have both hands.
Yeah, that's strange.
Weird.
And it definitely is. But we've also ran into the issue of there being nothing to do. So it's been trying to walk that line of not overwhelming people, but also making sure that like once you feed and water the dogs, that you still have something to do.
And that's also one of the reasons we added the some of the stuff at the computer, the like shelter events and stuff. Because now you can sort of, if there's nothing to do, you can go and do like an adopt-a-thon. And now I can't put the toy back. You can go do an adopt-a-thon and take some time in your day and then have something to do when you get back. So that there's never just like standing around anymore. But I think we went way too far with trying to, because since this was a convention build, we would be standing there talking to people and they would be asking questions, and so the sort of dead time was okay. But so for the demo, we just really weren't sure. We didn't want people to ever feel like they didn't know what to do because we weren't there to answer questions. So we made the pace such that we were sure that was never going to happen. Do you see the clock hands?
Clock's a little bit off.
The clock hands. It's cracking me up for some.
Yeah. So that's been a big issue for a long time for us, is finding that right balance. But I definitely think we're closing in on it, because we've got a number of systems that we can shift between, and the sort of difficulty is something that's a lot easier for us to scale now too. So once we start adding more content in, we'll have more options for, okay, so you're still getting events, but not all of them are new visitors or new dogs.
Yeah.
There'll be other sort of engaging events that aren't more busy work.
Exactly, yeah. So I guess we can move on to the next build. This one's not super special. I don't remember if the last one had this, but this is when we started to move towards this sort of like quarter down view with this sort of layered, you can walk. I think the last build had that too.
Before you leave this demo, let's go back to the main menu and come back in and see if we can see what's on the computer. Because I'm curious, I actually don't remember.
We had some cursor disappearance issues. Okay.
Yeah.
So this looks the same as the last build.
Yeah, but we've got some other options
they have
there.
The dog log.
Okay, they don't do anything though.
No, so it's exactly the same as before.
Yeah. But you can see we're already thinking about the shelter construction, the social media.
Yeah, we had that last time too. Yeah, that's what I said. We were literally planning this forever, and then it just was definitely deprioritized for a long time. Sorry, I just wanted to go look at them. It's really nice that even after how many times I played this game, I'm still like, oh, puppy, like every time I see the dogs.
Right.
Okay. So let's go play I think the last older build. We have just a few more minutes. I mean, we can go over if we want, I guess, but
yeah.
Had to itch my eye. Okay. So yeah, let me just launch it right up. I also think that it was a little bit offset again earlier, so I'm gonna try and fix that. It also looks like this one is only windowed, but that should be okay. What are we doing? Okay, this is fine. I can make this work.
There we go.
will get it. Okay, perfect. Y'all didn't see that. Okay. Okay, so this is actually, I believe that this is the build, or at least very close to the build that we had for the Kickstarter.
Yeah, and our second time at Pixel Pop and probably DreamHack.
Yeah, you're probably right, because we added a lot more decorative stuff. We had the ribbon, which was a lot of people were very grateful for the ribbon to teleport to the kennels, and I really want the tutorial to communicate that too. We didn't in the current tutorial just because we ran out of time to implement more tutorial steps. But because I know a lot of people have been frustrated by a lot of wasted time moving stuff back and forth, and so we really need to communicate the ribbon and the ability to grab multiple dogs, which, yeah.
Yeah.
We had the companion here. I think that they're just a sprite that wags when you get close sometimes.
Yeah.
That was just sort of our early idea for having one.
But yeah, I mean, this I think was our first art rework pass that we did. So you can see like the folder looks a lot better. The sort of building art looks a lot better.
Still got glitchy tails.
Yeah, the tails were an issue that never resolved.
Yeah, and that's why we gave up and did something better instead.
Yeah.
Okay, Booger.
Yeah, you get to see a lot of the dog variety now. Got some of the Pyrenees inspired dogs.
And you can see we were trying really hard to push the two-handed thing. Because it wasn't very intuitive. A lot of people were continuing to play the game with just one hand. I think I was even doing it earlier with the way I was playing the last build. And so we added this little pop-up thing that would tell you that, oh, you can do something with your right hand or your left hand. It essentially would prompt you that you can do something with your left or right hand, but it also wasn't very good UI design at all. But it was just something we tried out, and we're not happy with.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it is giving you some more cues about what you can do in the game.
Oops.
I like
Sir
the little
Puddington.
puppy designs that are just little round
little
balls.
blobs. I know, they're just little round boys. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that people might have questions about that we haven't brought up.
Oh, I think this one is the first Tug of War minigame.
Ooh, is it Tug of War or is it the... Oh, this is way before the
Tug of War.
Switch. Yeah.
So this is one we're hoping to add back in. We have some questions about the ease of use with the art for this without sort of adding custom animations just for this one minigame.
Ta-da! What button? What button?
I think
Oh,
it's
shoot.
space.
Oh, I think I have to pull backwards. Like I have to walk
Oh,
backwards.
yeah.
Oh, I remember this bug. It deletes
Yeah.
all the dogs.
So you can spawn some new ones.
What button?
9, I think. N maybe
In,
still.
we've been changing all of our like debug hotkeys in every
Yeah.
single build, so yeah, that's not doing anything.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go back and try it again.
Yeah, because this is where there's some interesting stuff to
Except
show.
the menu isn't working either.
Okay.
Okay. We're just gonna relaunch it.
Yeah.
I swear we kind of know what we're doing, you guys.
Yeah. So we have a question asking about sort of expanding a little bit on the narrative progression that you mentioned yesterday, starting in your own garage.
Yeah. So really right now, not a lot of it is implemented or we're not showing it yet. But we do have sort of a planned narrative for the game that will sort of tie your character through a couple different stages of sort of growing the shelter. So yeah, like as I mentioned in Discord yesterday when we had this really good question, we are going to have the player in the story mode start out as just somebody who is wanting to help dogs, and they're doing that by just dedicating some space in their own home to trying to accommodate them. And so yeah, so you'll have like 2 kennels in your garage and then finding lost dogs and trying to find their owners. But then after doing that's sort of like a tutorial stage, a very early tutorial stage. After that, you will be asked to maybe start working at a shelter. Which is where you will first get introduced to a lot of the like more complex stuff that shelters do. It's not one, no, let me pick that up. But oh, my cursor was all janked. Okay. Yeah, we had some UI culling issues in this one, I remember. Okay. That might have been an issue with Bucket earlier too.
Maybe, yeah.
So yeah, there's not a whole lot of more details to expand on that at the moment, other than that it is going to continue and go through all the stages of the kennel. There'll be recurring characters that will visit the shelter, and then there'll be an inspector who will come and give you a hard time.
And if you played Papers, Please, some of the narrative beats that we want to hit emulate that in some ways, and sort of how like the characters come to you. You're mostly in this space, but you still get a lot of narrative progression as you play.
So this is starting to look a lot more like what we have right now. It's a lot prettier and a lot more usable. The dog log is here, which we added as a way so that when the shelter grows, you can see sort of an overview of the dogs in your shelter. And at this point, it didn't show their traits.
That was a really recent addition.
Yeah, it was a really recent addition, but I think it's a really good one because I feel like the biggest use case when people are wanting to be looking at all their dogs is when they are wanting to figure out if they have something an adopter is looking for, which is mostly traits. We've added size and breed requests as well. But yeah, so that was something we added. I think that was actually, this build was where we recently had added that, so.
Yeah.
What are our,
Sora had a question, if we plan on including lost dogs rather than stray and abandoned dogs.
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So there will definitely will be some of that. So there will be different sort of situations that can lead to a dog showing up at your shelter. Some of those will be narrative, and some of the, so I mentioned recurring characters. Some dogs will be those recurring characters, actually. So things like somebody might come in, there'll be certain types of adopters that will be like, hey, I lost my dog. They look exactly like this and have these traits. And they will only adopt that dog. So yeah, definitely, we will have stuff like that so that there's a little bit more variety and not every adopter is the same. They will have little narratives associated with them as well and be a lot more interesting part of the game. Because yeah, so, and I keep bringing this up in different streams over and over again, but really one of our biggest things that we're going for with this game, since we've taken a big design pass and we've really thought about our like design philosophy, I'm actually going to go use the ribbon. What am I doing? We really want to emphasize the one-on-one connection, right? The one-on-one connection between the player and the dogs and the adopters and the dogs. And so that means that, you know, the adopters have to have personalities too, so we can help find that match.
And another question, is there an end to the game / story?
There will definitely be a finite amount of sort of unique story threads, just because scope.
And it will have kind of like a climax as well.
Yeah, so there will be, like a main story as well as... So there's going to be like main story threads as well as sort of individual, maybe potentially recurring story threads that could happen. But yeah, so there will be a climax of the main story, but you obviously, at the point of the game where that opens up, there will be so much to do that you can keep playing like in the sandbox sort of mode after that. Yeah, so that's a really good question.
Yeah, and here you can see how mean the game is to the low-rated dogs at this stage.
So I got really bad luck this time and started with a bunch of low-rated dogs because it was just random for this build. And yeah, they get a tiny slice of the chances.
Another question from Sora. Will we have bad adopters or NPCs that we may end up turning away?
Yes, actually. So that's actually something that we've been going back and forth on. I think that we're going to try and still include it because, again, we've talked about how we want to include some of the harsh realities, right? And some people that want dogs either probably shouldn't have them for different reasons or might not be very good owners for various different reasons, right? if somebody comes into the shelter and it says, hey, I want a bully breed dog who's super aggressive and looks really mean, that's sort of a really weird sign, right? That maybe you might not want to let them adopt one of your dogs. And so that's something we're playing with. That's just an example, not a concrete one that's going to be in the game. But yeah, that's definitely something that we're paying attention to. Because also, like, in talking about recurring characters, come on, Sadie. Okay, there we go. Talking about recurring characters, there will be, like, if the same person, like, and right now it seems like the same people are coming into the shelter pretty often, because there's only 2 visitor variants right now. But they will be, like, maybe potentially named characters that come to the shelter over and over again, and maybe they get more and more and more dogs, and so that's also a weird thing that you can keep an eye out for. So there will be some of that. It's not going to be a huge thing, and it's not going to, if the player isn't really interested in, like, figuring out those little narrative clues about sort of things like that, I don't think it's going to be like a huge necessary part of the game, but it is going to bring a lot more life to the visitors and sort of the community too.
Yeah, and I mean, we have a couple questions about, you know, NPCs that abandon dogs or following up on adoptions via Bark Book. Those are all things that we're planning on expanding into.
Absolutely.
Because we really want to diversify the way that, like, dogs come into the shelter, because the whole idea is that those, like, each dog should sort of feel like it has a unique story. So the way that they come into the shelter, their time at the shelter, if they come back to the shelter, you know, for various reasons, are all things that we find really interesting to explore with this game.
And so far, I mean, it's the reason a lot of that content isn't in the game right now is because we've been really trying to get the mechanics. We've been sort of, you know, going in circles with the mechanics, making it feel satisfying to move the dogs, making the adoptions more interesting, making you know, the sort of loop of taking care of them more interesting, and so that's been our main focus so far. But that is also really important to us, is that different narratives of the visitors and the dogs. I also just noticed that we're like 10 minutes over our planned time, but which is just fine. Because again, like, we love the game, we love talking about it. So yeah, if there's any other questions, make sure you get them in right now. We'll be happy to answer some last minute ones about anything, about the game, about us, about our dog. And yeah, other than that, please be sure to head over to our Discord, where we are running, today's the last day for our raffle, and we still have lots of really great prizes to choose from. And Nienny, if you were here at any point during the stream, go ahead and send us a screenshot on Discord, and you can get an entry to the raffle from that. But this is our last event, our last live stream for Indie Arena Booth. And I believe Indie Arena Booth is going to be alive until, I think, 7 p.m. tonight? I need to double check that. It's a time zone thing, and I always keep forgetting what the conversion is. So,
right. But our demo will be up through tomorrow.
Yeah, we are going to have our demo still on Steam for an extra day. So if you missed Indie Arena Booth... Oh, this had the whistling! We didn't even talk about the whistling! Oh.
It did.
Okay, well, that's something. The whistling is a way you can get dogs to listen better. So if there's a dog pulling on you, like, Booger's actually being pretty good here, but if I whistle, he listens. So I just wanted to quickly demonstrate that. And that's actually going to be coming back in some form, too. We just haven't re-implemented it yet. So yeah, please check out our demo while you can. We're really open to any and all feedback. If there's anything you like about an old build that's missing from the new one, let us know. Because that's really interesting for us too, even though I imagine that you are all grateful that the build we have is not ugly like our old ones. And you're whistling. I thought you said wish listing. Wish listing is good too, but yeah, whistling is a really cute thing that I really want to bring back because it's just sort of fun to do. And so yeah, we're happy to hear what you think about the demo, what you think about the older builds versus the newer ones, and we really like showing this stuff to show that, you know, this game didn't come out of nowhere. We've been sitting on it and thinking about it and revising it for years, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger part of our lives now that we're actually working on it full time.
Yeah.
Let's also say thank you for coming and checking out this this sort of informal. It ended up not being that much of a Q&A because we were so excited about these builds.
But we're always on Discord, so even after Gamescom, you can come and hang out with us there.
Yeah, if any other questions come up about anything, we're really active there, and we've been trying to make sure everybody gets their questions answered.
Yeah, because for the most part, future demos that we distribute, unless there's another really big event like Gamescom, will probably just be through the Discord, so that we can keep the audience, relatively narrow. Because while the demo's out, we really want to try and fix issues that come up as they come up, so everybody has a good experience.
Yeah.
But then that takes away from our typical development flow, because some of those fixes are quick fixes that have to be fixed more later.
Yeah.
But so the Discord is a really awesome place to hang out if you're interested in the game. That's where you'll get the most information and the most cool access to stuff.
I'm getting cheese through the roof.
Uh-oh.
So Discord and social media were available, and if you haven't yet, go walk around at any arena booth while you still can. It's a really cool, unique experience that's not going to be around for much longer. There's so many other demos, and I don't know when those demos are going down because they're all just based on their own developers' discretion. So make sure you check out other games too, because there's some really, really good ones at the event. Alright, and I guess with that, I guess that's it. I can keep blabbing for like another hour if you want, but we should probably wrap up at some point. So thank you all for watching, and come see us on Discord.
Bye.
Bye. I would ask Keanu to say bye, but he's asleep. Alright, bye everybody.